cum-stained futon, which is perhaps way too much information in the spirit of transparency. That's all I had. And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do with it? I didn't even have a car. I was just broke with this crap. I'm like, I guess I live in Los Angeles, and that's my sorry excuse for living there to this day. And it's never a city I've ever felt very at home in, but I deal with it. And people are nice enough, but it is a fairly filthy, violent, overpriced place, and with a lot of elitism. And a lot of people come to that city from other parts of America and the world to make it. And you'll see the nice girl from Wisconsin who thought she was going to be the actress because she kicked so much ass in the local production of Our Town, and she came to LA like, I'm going to act, and I'm never going to be, I'm a stripper now? Well, okay. And a few months later, she's grinding her pudenda, Latin for the non-kids, into the faces of men going, and she's a nice gal from the Midwest, and she never thought it would come to this. She never thought she'd be doing 9 hours a night to a 9-inch nails record doing. And there she is. Quite often on a Sunday, you'll see people outside of these apartment buildings in Los Angeles with a blanket on the lawn selling off what they've got because they're going to go home because the dream did not work. And sometimes the dream kills people. They OD, they have really bad times. And you see how people kind of wash up and fall apart in Los Angeles. So there's a lot of bad stuff there. I moved there in 1981, and when I got there with Black Flag, we were immediately broke. The police had kicked us out of our previous place while we were on tour. We came back to nothing but our gear and storage. So we found an office space in Hollywood. And Hollywood, California has 3 major arteries that go east-west: Hollywood, Sunset, and Santa Monica. Well, Melrose, but it's not as big. And so we lived at Santa Monica a little bit west of La Cienega, which is a pretty cool intersection. It's where Electra Studios used to be, so Funhouse and the Doors albums were recorded there. Jim Morrison used to live at the Alto La Cienega Hotel. It's still there. He used to drink at the Palms. His bar is still there. It's kind of a tourist attraction now. And we lived across the street from the Palms in an office building, sleeping on the floor or working at our little office by day. And in those days, Santa Monica Boulevard, then as it is now, was kind of an artery where you can buy male prostitutes. And in those days, the male sex trade went almost all the way up to Beverly Hills, kind of west of our office building. Through gentrification and LA cops, they beat the gay sex trade back east about 3 miles. So if you want that action now, you find it around Bronson and Santa Monica. If any of you guys are into that and you come to visit, that's where you go. And you can find really intense men who will stand there and flash you their wares, like by flipping up their miniskirt. And it's, as David Lee Roth once said, as intense as a shark in your toilet. It's pretty epic. Anyway, back in those days, there was just a lot of that world around where we lived. And at night after band practice, I would just kind of wander through this world and just kind of trip on it. And then one night, I was on La Cienega in the 7-Eleven with like 75 cents. Like, what candy bar will it be tonight? Because we had very little money. Like, I'm going to have a candy bar. I'm a big spender. And so I'm perusing the candy bar aisle, really taking some time, because I want the biggest bang for my 55 cents. So I'm looking at Three Musketeers. They don't taste good to me, but there's a lot of it. Snickers bars taste better, but there's less of it. I'm like, pleasure or quantity? And at that moment, I see at the counter are 2 male rent boys, these 2 male prostitutes, late teens, maybe at the oldest, 2021. And they're kind of a matching pair. And they both have that Farrah Fawcett unisex hairdo that was really famous and popular in those days, where it necessitates a man to have this blow-dried hairdo that parts down the middle. It necessitates him getting the hair together with effeminate head and hand gestures, which was really funny when you see a cop doing it. Like a cop is beating some Hispanic man into the hood of his cop car and has to take a moment to... Oh. Back to the beating. And so these 2 guys have their hair, their faces are very glammed up, they're wearing a lot of makeup. They're wearing sparkly tube tops. Each guy is wearing a tube top and hot pants, sparkly socks, and matching purple clogs. And I dug it. I thought, that's a great look. I mean, it's really great. You've got to be tough to wear that on Santa Monica Boulevard. Because, people are probably driving by and hurling epithets or worse. And, you can get cut up in that part of Los Angeles in those days. Now it's hyper gentrified. You can't even afford to park your car there for an hour. But in those days, it was pretty raw. So I'm looking at these 2 guys, and they must be buying cigarettes or something. So they're buying something over the counter. And I'm like, wow, that's bold, because there's nothing like that where I come from that I knew of. Probably was. I just not the neighborhood I would hang out in. At that moment, two urban cowboys walk in. And in Southern California, they grow men really big, like those kind of uber lifeguard soldier cop types, like these tall men, naturally wide and muscular. And that's when John Travolta's urban cowboy thing was very, very popular. So they're both wearing these idiotic shit-kicker boots, jeans, a button-up shirt. They got the feather dew going. And they see the two rent boys buying something, and they dig elbows into each other's ribs, and I forget what they said, like, look at the queers or whatever. And I see one guy, he's about to say something. I start backing away from the candy for the blood spray that's going to be coming at me, because they're obviously going to beat up the two rent boys. And I forget, one of the urban cowboys said something to the rent boys, like, some kind of, thing, like, hey, what's up, fat, or whatever. And the two rent boys stopped what they were doing, turned on the two urban cowboys, and with no hesitation, let loose the most violent and believably intimidating stream of vitriol I have ever heard in my life. It was like this psycho sewer had opened out of their mouths. And that's when it hit me what these guys do for a living. For whatever it is, $17, they'll come into your car, service you, spit it out the window, and get back to the boulevard before lunch. I mean, and there's nothing you're going to say that's going to intimidate them, because they really get killed every single day on the street, and these guys had no idea what they were messing with. And these guys were outweighed by the urban cowboys. The urban cowboys were bouncer-sized men. These guys are slim, effeminate boys, and they unleash you. You want some of this? Come on! And the two urban cowboys, they ran out of the 7-Eleven. And damn! And then the two effeminate red boys, they didn't even going, yeah, this one. Menthol, please. They just went right back to, I was like, I'm so out of my league. I'm so far from home. Please, send me home. I won't be able to survive this. There's no way I'm going to hang. And it was one of those like, wow, you are really, really far from home. And days later, Black Flag was one of the early gigs with me in the band, and they got in the band, and our gig that night was in San Diego, which is a beautiful seaside town about 90 miles south of Los Angeles County. And as we're driving down, the wise elders of the band are sitting around me in the back, and they said, look, a lot of our gigs in San Diego, we don't get to finish them because of the cops. And so the cops are probably going to come in to the show tonight, break it up, and they're going to walk on stage, and they're going to go right for the microphone. So when the cop reaches out for the microphone, give it to him. And I don't know what else I'm going to do. I think that's what? I got it, fine. And they said, watch out for the audience, they're pretty pugnacious. And I'm like, great, this is all I need. So hours later, we're doing the show, the place is packed, it's going completely nuts. And we're playing away. Back in those days, we sounded like this kind of static wall of white noise. And you really couldn't discern what song was which, and the set list often had a different song order from sheet to sheet. So it's kind of like Naked Lunch but a band, where everyone's on different pages and it's all kind of wild and chaotic. And so sometimes that sounds like, and you'd assign a lyric and fly it into the mix, no, and then you try another one. Oh, what the hell, let's float this one in. And it would kind of work, and you never knew if you got the right lyric to the right song, and the song would come to an end, and no one in the audience would be like, that'll cost you $1, one demerit, you got the, they're like, yeah! So no matter what we did, it seemed to be okay. And so we're like 4 songs into like the 80-song set list, The Long March to the Sea. And I look down in the front, and there's a girl looking at me, giving me the big eye. Hello, singer. I'm like, wow, I'm kind of like a rock star? Really? And I look down, and she's like, oh, yeah. And I did not know much about women in those days. They were kind of a weird quantity to me, because I went to an all-boys school, so they were like this beautiful and rarefied alien thing. And so I'm still kind of getting my, kind of learning the ropes of all of that. But here's a girl just obviously going like, I dig you, but I have a lot of responsibility up here. And being half samurai, half Boy Scout might do these words in the band, not, romancing these females. So I kind of look at her like, no, not now. We have a song called Padded Cell. With Orwellian overtones written by Chuck Dukowski. If you listen carefully, I think you'll dig it. And so I keep playing away, and I look down, and now she's like, and I'm not a doorknob. I'm a living person. I can't not go like, I'm like, And then a few songs later, I noticed there's a man standing next to her, and I guess it's a boyfriend, and he's looking at me, and I'm kind of looking, oh, geez, I can't control where she's standing, sir. And